There is a moment, imperceptible to most, when life makes it clear that it is not the lack of opportunities that keeps us in the same place, but the silent attachment to who we believe ourselves to be. It is like trying to walk through a door carrying an object that does not fit through the doorway. As long as we insist on carrying our old identity with us, the passage will remain blocked. Not because there's an external obstacle, but because the space only opens up for those who arrive aligned with the version that awaits them on the other side. The quantum field does not judge, does not impose arbitrary barriers. It only accurately reflects the state you sustain, like a mirror that does not show what you want, but who you are. Why then do so many people remain stuck in the same patterns, even after years of study, effort, and practice? And even more, why do so many believe that only wear and tear and extreme effort can pave the way for transformation? The answer lies in conditioning. From an early age, we learn that achievements come with sweat and sacrifice, that results require struggle and resistance. But the quantum field responds to a different logic. It is not moved by the amount of work, but by the purity of the frequency. This is the point that few realize. It is not the number of hours dedicated, nor the size of the sacrifice that determines the response of the field, but the coherence between what you think, feel, and express. A desire laden with anxiety does not emit the vibration of what one wants to attract, but rather the perceived absence. It is like trying to tune into a radio station while turning the dial quickly. The sound is lost in the noise, even if the channel is close by. Throughout life, we are trained to associate merit with exhaustion. At work, this means overtime. At school, impeccable results. In the spiritual realm, long rituals, repeated affirmations to the point of exhaustion, and a relentless search for more tools. But what really matters is not the quantity of action, but the quality of the energy behind it. Imagine that you repeat daily, "I am prosperous." But while you say this, your body vibrates with tension, your breathing is short, and your mind is occupied with thoughts of scarcity. The field does not understand the phrase. It perceives the dominant vibration. And that vibration, in this case, is one of lack. This inconsistency is why so many practices seem to not work consistently. You may alternate moments of clarity with relapses into old states, and the result will be unstable. It's like receiving a flashing signal. Sometimes the field responds, sometimes it moves away, because the message sent is not constant. Think about how a radio transmitter behaves when the antenna is poorly positioned. The sound comes and goes until a small adjustment puts in the right place. At that moment, the noise disappears and the music flows cleanly. The same happens with your vibration. When you find and maintain the right point, the field responds immediately. But to get to that point, you need something that challenges your conditioning. Abandon the idea that more effort is always better. At the quantum level, insisting from a state of lack only reinforces what you want to avoid. Instead of pushing, you need to align. Glowing star comment now. I choose alignment, and right where you're watching from. This helps to expand this energy throughout the collective field. Another little discussed aspect is that what we seek is often a reflection of our past identity, not the one we are ready to live. We may believe we want something, but if the origin of that desire is linked to old insecurities, even if it manifests itself, it will keep us stuck in what we want to leave behind. That is why some achievements leave a feeling of emptiness. They feed this self that no longer makes sense. When we close our eyes to visualize and feel our hearts race out of longing, not excitement, we are vibrating absence. The field does not distinguish between intention and emotion. It picks up what is dominant. So saying I want can in practice mean I don't have, and that is what comes back. Many cling to grueling routines, not to create, but to avoid feeling the discomfort of being present in the now. The ego likes to feel busy because it associates movement with progress. But in the quantum universe, true change does not come from frantic movement, but from coherent presence. You don't invent music, it already exists. Your role is to tune in to the right frequency to hear it. And this tuning doesn't require force, but consistency. When you stop trying to attract and start being, transformation happens as a natural consequence. Here's a delicate point. What if what you think you want today is just a remnant of who you were? What if life is trying to lead you to something more aligned, but you insist on the old just because you've already invested time and energy in it? In such cases, what we call loss may actually be protection, an intentional redirection of the field. When this realization sets in, even simple practices gain momentum. It is not the technique that changes, but the state in which you perform it. Visualization becomes more vivid, affirmations more true, meditation deeper. Because now there is no internal struggle, only harmony. The question that really matters is no longer what do I need to do to achieve this, but who do I need to be for this to happen naturally? This is the turning point. By living as if you already are, you stop sending out contradictory signals. The field responds to clarity, and clarity is the result of being whole in what you think, feel, and live. This is the basis for everything you desire to become inevitable. Not because you work harder, but because you started sending a single, pure, and constant signal. True silence is not empty, it is pure density. It is the point where the body, mind, and heart stop competing with each other. There is no urgency to change anything, nor anxiety to accelerate what has not yet arrived. It is in this inner place that the quantum field recognizes who you really are, without filters and without the layers created to impress. What sustains this connection is not the words you say, but the frequency you maintain. This frequency is transmitted through your body, your breath, your natural state. And the field responds to this with mathematical precision. Think of a conversation with someone close to you. That person may say they are fine, but their downcast eyes, tone of voice, and posture reveal something else. You perceive the truth without them having to say it. On the quantum level, it is exactly the same. The field perceives what you vibrate, not what you say. That is why so many attempts at manifestation fail when there is no coherence. You can mentally repeat that you are abundant, but if your physical posture expresses tension, the real signal sent to the field is one of insecurity. And the field responds to that signal, not to what was said. This misalignment creates a phenomenon I call vibrational interference. It's like trying to watch a movie with two different audio tracks playing at the same time. The result is confusing, fragmented, and uncomfortable. As long as there are two opposing signals, the mental and the emotional, there's not enough clarity for the field to organize itself in your favor. A clear example of this is the love life of many people. Someone may say they are ready for a healthy relationship, but still carry fear of rejection. Even if they go out to meet new people, read books on the subject, or do self-affirmation exercises, the field responds to fear, not desire. And so the pattern of withdrawal repeats itself. The same goes for money, health, or any other area. Manifestation does not depend solely on thought. It depends on your entire system sending out the same signal. Glowing star, if this makes sense to you, comment, I choose to send a single signal. This choice, even when written down, reinforces your internal decision. When your mind, body, and emotions are aligned, the field doesn't have to decipher what you want. The signal is pure, direct, and constant. It's like a well-tuned radio station. It doesn't matter if the volume is high or low, the sound is always clear. However, before this coherence takes hold, there is a period of instability that many confuse with regression. It is the phase in which the old identity is falling apart and the new one is not yet fully integrated. During this phase, it is common to feel confusion, tiredness, impatience, or even the return of old patterns. This is not a sign of failure. It is the energetic equivalent of the moment when the day begins to dawn, but the sun has not yet appeared on the horizon. There is enough light to know that something is changing, but not enough to see clearly. On a quantum level, this transition is a vibrational reconfiguration. Old circuits are being deactivated, new ones are being created. It's like changing a computer's operating system. During installation, use is limited, but when it's finished, everything works more smoothly. The mistake is to abandon the process at this point. Many return to old habits because they confuse discomfort with a sign that nothing is working. In fact, discomfort is an indication that the field is making profound adjustments. During this phase, your biggest task is not to do more or try harder, but to maintain the frequency you desire, even when it does not seem to produce external results. This consistency is what solidifies your new identity. This is where micro decisions come in. It is not big, isolated actions that create stability, but the small moments when you react differently than you would have before. It is in the moment when you remain calm in the face of the unexpected, in the second when you observe a negative thought without feeding it, in the conscious choice to remain in the present. These micro decisions act as anchors that prevent your energy from being dragged back into the old vibration. Over time, living in this state ceases to be a conscious effort and becomes natural. It is the point where you're no longer trying to attract anything. You're living as if it were already part of who you are. And at that moment, the field has no choice but to respond accordingly. Another important key is to understand that coherence is not synonymous with emotional perfection. You don't have to be happy or motivated all the time to be aligned. You can feel sadness, tiredness, or irritation and still maintain coherence, as long as you accept these states and don't fight them. Incoherence arises when there is internal conflict, when the mind insists that you should be in a different state and thus creates resistance to what already is. By embracing your present experience, you maintain flow and avoid blockages. This acceptance also generates something powerful, trust in the process. The field responds more clearly when you stop sending signals of urgency or desperation. This is because urgency conveys the message that something is missing, and the field replicates that feeling exactly. Trusting is like planting a seed and not digging up the soil every day to see if it has sprouted. It is caring, watering, protecting, and allowing time to do its work. When trust and consistency meet, manifestation ceases to be unstable and becomes inevitable. Not because you force it, but because the field has no choice but to reflect the frequency you hold. And perhaps the most transformative thing of all is realizing that this process is not just about changing results, but about changing who you are along the way. Because by maintaining consistency, you develop presence, emotional stability, and mental clarity, qualities that remain regardless of circumstances. This means that even if the desired result takes time to arrive, you're already living a more aligned and fulfilling life. And in the end, it is this life that attracts everything that once seemed distant. Speech balloon if this insight touched you. Write in the comments, "I live aligned," and feel how this phrase echoes in your body. Being aligned is not about creating something new from the outside in, but about allowing what already exists in your field to manifest without distortion. It is removing interference and clearing the channel. When this clarity is established, manifestation becomes simpler than you imagined. You don't have to watch every thought or control every emotion. Just sustain the vibration that corresponds to what you want to experience. And this is where many people discover that true mastery is not in making it happen, but in staying in the state. There are moments when the stability you have sought begins to become visible, not because something extraordinary has happened on the outside, but because you have stopped moving in search of proof. That is when the need to constantly confirm that it is working disappears. And at that point, the field recognizes that your vibration is not temporary. It has become your signature. This state is not achieved by force or by excessive persistence. It is born of a constant presence. You're no longer trying to prove anything, either to the world or to yourself. You are simply living from the alignment you have chosen to sustain. Clarity and peace go hand in hand. When you think coherently, feel coherently, and behave coherently, you create a stable magnetic field. This does not mean that life stops presenting challenges, but that your reaction to them changes completely. Have you noticed that there are people who, even without following formal methods of manifestation, seem to naturally attract favorable situations? They do not live trapped in mantras. They do not wake up at 5 in the morning to meditate. They do not repeat endless lists of affirmations. However, there is an invisible thread that connects what they feel, think, and experience. It is pure coherence. Now, look inside yourself. How many times have you said you wanted abundance, but maintained habits that confirm scarcity? How many times have you said you sought peace, but continued to feed internal conflicts? This discrepancy creates two different signals, and the field responds with equally divided results. Think of a musical group in which each instrument plays at a different rhythm. The music does not harmonize, even if everyone is talented. But when everyone follows the same beat, the melody is not only heard, it is felt. This is what happens when you become coherent. The field stops interpreting and starts responding directly. Coherence is not the absence of emotion. You can feel sadness and still be aligned, as long as you don't fight that emotion. You can feel tired and still maintain your clean vibration, as long as you don't create resistance to that state. What breaks coherence is internal conflict, the constant attempt to correct the present experience instead of accepting it. When acceptance happens, the weight of need dissolves. You're no longer trying to attract anything urgently. You are living as if it were already part of your reality. And that is exactly what opens space for manifestation to happen naturally. This is the magic of stabilization. You no longer move in reaction to what is outside, but from what you have decided to be inside. The outside world loses the power to dictate how you feel, and your vibration becomes the dominant factor. Maintaining this state requires silent repetition. It's not about big gestures, but about daily micro-choices. It's when you choose to remain calm in the face of a difficult conversation. When you feel an urge to return to an old habit and consciously decide not to give in. When you notice a limiting thought and let it pass without holding on to it. Each of these choices is a brick in the construction of your new identity. Over time, this structure becomes so solid that even unexpected circumstances cannot shake it. Glowing Star, if you are in this process, comment, "I've become stability." Write it down and feel the power of that statement. Integrating a new version of yourself does not mean completely eliminating challenges, but changing the way you relate to them. It means that even when you are uncomfortable, you know that you are not regressing, but consolidating. The most common mistake is to believe that the new version is only working when everything seems perfect. But the true test of consistency comes precisely in those moments when nothing seems to add up. That's when you choose between staying aligned or returning to the old pattern. And it is this choice, repeated over time, that transforms alignment into identity. You no longer need to remember it. It becomes automatic. At this stage, manifesting is no longer something you do, but rather something you are. The field no longer needs to send adjustment signals because you're already sending the right signal all the time. This change also profoundly affects how you influence others. Your presence begins to convey something that cannot be explained in words, but is felt. And this awakens in others the memory that they too can live in alignment. When you understand that you don't need proof to sustain your vibration, everything becomes simpler. You realize that the external world has always been a reflection of your internal state, and that maintaining that state is the key to any transformation. Speech balloon, write in the comments, "I am who I have always been," and say where you're watching from. Let's spread this frequency together. And if this message resonated with you, share it with someone who is going through a moment of doubt or confusion. Maybe this is the push they need to find their balance. Like this video and subscribe to continue receiving reminders that reinforce your new version. This isn't just another piece of content. It's part of a series of activations that can keep you at your most aligned. You are not creating something new. You are remembering who you have always been. And when that memory comes alive, it does not disappear. It guides your choices, shapes your experiences, and creates a field so clear that nothing can distort it. That is when manifestation ceases to be a goal and becomes the inevitable consequence of who you have become.